This does indeed promise to be fun because Brett Wiseman has joined me. Good morning, Brett. How are you?
Good morning, Brian. I'm doing well. How about you?
You sound about as awake as I am when I get up at 5 in the morning to prep for the show. But I love it though.
I
I love it.
stayed up tracking Twitter all night trying to figure out if we were going to have a CBA deal, and now we just have a new deadline. So it's
Yeah,
fun.
we just have a new deadline,
Mm.
and Rob Manfraud, Brett Wiseman has these thoughts for you. The floor is yours, young man.
Stop ruining baseball. Number one.
Yes.
Mm.
Um, God, where do I start with this man? Well, he's not even a man. He's a man fraud. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I knew in 2014 when he took over, blankety blank was going to hit the fan.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know it was going to be to this extent. But
Oh boy.
continuously, like even since the pandemic negotiations in
Dear Lord.
2020,
Dear
things
Lord.
things have gone downhill, and both sides have kind of started to separate even further. And and Jeff Passan's article that he put out with ESPN yesterday was spot the heck on.
Mm-hmm.
All these wounds are self inflicted, and
Yeah. Yeah.
Manfred isn't the only one to blame. And as a Cardinals fan, the Cardinals ownership, the DeWitt family, isn't excluded from this either.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if you took, Jeff Passan said this perfectly, if you took 1,200 players from different parts of the world and replaced them with who's there now, the product of the game would greatly suffer.
Yeah.
If you took 30, even somewhat not even fully competent businessmen and women, and put them where those owners are now, the product of the game would more than likely improve,
Mm-hmm.
because none of the people running the show right now know what the heck they're doing.
This is true.
It's
And it's
that
been true
simple.
for a while. It's been true for a while.
It has.
How did he become commissioner? Who actually liked him to vote him in? Can I start there?
Well, he was kind of Bud Selig's right hand man as deputy commissioner, so he was, I guess you could say, next in line,
Mm,
air quotes.
But but Silk
But
right, man. Ugh.
yikes.
yeah, no, if you're Bud Selig's right hand man,
There's
there's a lot
many,
that can
many
be done.
there's many, many problems with that.
Yes. At the point of, you know, towards Selig's end there, he was kind of pulling the strings a little bit, and Selig was just his puppet. But anyways, last night, I don't know if anybody saw this, they agreed to the players agreed to a 12 team postseason. Here's my issue with that.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. Ugh.
Baseball is 162 games. That hopefully it
Mm-hmm.
stays that way this year. Um,
It better. I want my baseball.
I want my
Mm,
baseball.
you all are more
As a
optimistic than me.
as a Cardinals fan, I want Yachty and Wayno to have a full final season, because it would
Mm-hmm.
be a disservice to them, and all they've done for not only, you know, the Cardinals, but for baseball in
For
general.
baseball.
Right. Yeah, I was gonna say,
Mm-hmm.
as a not
Um,
Cardinals fan, I hope they get it.
yeah,
Same
because
here.
they they're just, they mean too much to us, and they mean too much to the game, to not have a full final season. But anyways, I digress. Um, the biggest problem I have with an expanded postseason to begin with is not that I don't like October baseball. There's nothing like it, period. And
Yes. Yes.
it is its own animal. And as we enter March, it's second to March Madness for me. And in fact, it's
Mm-hmm.
probably 1A or 1B. It's that same kind of intensity, that same kind of, and that's what they were trying to do with the wild card game. But there's a reason there's 162 games in a regular season. And it's not to A, have a 1-game playoff, or B, what we're about to have, which is darn near half the league in the postseason. We're celebrating mediocrity.
Yeah.
And that's the point that the NFL is starting to get to, and the NBA has already gotten to.
The NBA is already there.
You would see for years that, Mike Bibby's 12 games under 500 Atlanta Hawks would enter as an 8 seed in a terrible Eastern Conference and just get boat raced by whoever the 1 seed was. And the play-in tournament's supposed to, do something about that. But anyway,
he beat me to it.
Supposed to, not we don't know.
Cole and I agree. Supposed to.
The Hornets will end up in it somehow and get screwed somehow because they always get screwed by the league. But anyways, you're going to run into this situation that we had in 2020 where the Marlins were exponentially worse than a Cubs team.
Yes.
I was happy with the result of the series.
Same, because I can't stand the Cubs.
A team that's 7 games under 500 shouldn't be able to go in and sweep a team that's 12 games over 500. That's a disservice to the. And even though that was a 60-game season, that's the kind of thing we're going to run into here.
Unfortunately,
not that I would want the Mariners to, lose a playoff series. But if the Mariners get in at, 4 or 5 games over 500 and knock off, who knows, the A's or somebody that's 15, 20 games over, Tampa, one of those teams that is 100% better. The whole idea of the players the whole time, and this is why they're still fighting as we speak over the competitive balance tax and why a draft lottery was agreed to. They want to eliminate tanking as a winning strategy. They want all teams to have as much a cut of the pie as anyone else, right?
Yeah.
And I talked about this on my show on Tobacco Road Sports Radio, is the players don't want to go into weekend series against Pittsburgh and Arizona. I mean, there's an instance last year I can remember the Cardinals were playing the Diamondbacks in May, and the Diamondbacks had the bases loaded in the bottom of the 8th and did not pinch hit for their reliever because they didn't want to take the lead. I mean, intentionally. Had a guy on deck, pulled him back.
Yeah.
The Cardinals walked the 8-hole hitter thinking they were going to pinch hit, and they pulled him back with 2 outs. So it's not like he could have bunted.
Do we see extra innings getting back to normal?
I think so.
Thank God.
Yeah, that's
and teams actually earn extra inning wins.
There was an idea proposed for the postseason where a team, if it was 14 teams, each team would get a ghost win, and you would start with the higher seed would start the series up 1-0.
Now, how fair is that?
Who was smoking?
Who the hell came up with that idea?
I want to have whatever alcoholic beverage they were having because
that's
the dumbest idea I've ever heard in my life.
Stupid.
Wow.
That's not earning. I wouldn't watch. If that were the case, I wouldn't watch. That's not a playoff win.
No, I wouldn't. No. The playoffs? No.
Thank you, Jim Mora.
Thank you, Jim Mora Sr.
God rest his soul.
Yeah.
But I'll come to a point where I can accept a 12-team playoff and a universal DH as a National League guy. But I need to be assured that the Astros strategy, not the cheating part of it, that the Astros strategy of tanking working doesn't end up happening again.
Yeah.
And I want to say this before we move on to, I know we got to move on to other things, but the whole narrative that this is millionaires versus billionaires fighting over how to split millions and billions of dollars is BS. This is ownership versus players. This is an employer versus its employees.
Mm-hmm.
And this is not like any, general run of the mill, electricians union versus electricians cooperative of, power companies. This ain't the same animal.
Right.
This is a bunch of guys in suits and ties that have no idea what they're doing.
None whatsoever.
And guys that get paid slightly less than that, like Max Scherzer, intentionally showing up in a Toyota Yaris to make a statement when, the owner of the Rock. First of all, the guy that trades Nolan Arenado and $50 million should not be allowed to be involved in negotiations of any kind whatsoever.
No.
So let's get that out of the way. The fact that he's there is, yeah. But Max Scherzer, who just signed this big contract, intentionally shows up in a junky Toyota Yaris to be like, hey, this whole narrative that it's us versus you and we make money and you make money. No, we just want to play baseball.
Mm-hmm.
I should. And I think part of that statement was one of the biggest things from the players in terms of the fact that they've been fighting over minimum salary for this long. And I've seen people tweet that, oh, this number moved and, it moved up to 70,000 and yada, yada. There's things underneath that pertain specifically to minor leaguers.
Mm-hmm.
And the PA, like the man number 2 behind we want to eliminate tanking as a winning strategy is twofold. There's a 2A and 2B to this. 2A, they want to eliminate service time manipulation.
Mm-hmm.
They want a guy when he comes up to be able to have a shot at Rookie of the Year or sorry, somebody tried to call me in the middle of that. They want to be sure that somebody is the guy's getting his due, and
mm-hmm.
They also want to be sure that the guys in the minors are not, making below minimum wage to play baseball for, me to go broadcast or you to go watch as a fan.
Yeah.
People don't realize that these guys are, sleeping on the floor. In some cases, they're sleeping on, concrete or hardwood or in a sleeping bag on a bus. The grind is real for these guys, and when the Players Association wants they want those guys protected when they're down there. B, when they get up there, they want them rewarded for all they had to go through. They want them to have as much a piece of this pie as anyone else. And before we move on, I'll say the New York Post had a report yesterday that because ESPN has eliminated the Monday and Wednesday night national telecasts. So, and they had already sold a 14-team playoff package to ESPN. So now there's going to be 12. They got to scramble and find out how to work that. But since ESPN doesn't have they only have the one weekly game now, MLB's in talks with NBC/Peacock and Apple TV Plus to try and get some weekly games on there. I don't know if it would be on NBC or USA or Peacock, but look,
it's still behind a blankety blank paywall. We got to go to a break. But Brett, I got to have you back on. We got to have a second part to this. I may bring you back on tomorrow so we can do a part 2 to this. You interested?
Let's do it.
All right. Brett will join us tomorrow so we can do a part 2 to this. We got to go to a break. We encourage you to join Snowman in the Morning via Patreon. Go to patreon.com/SIT Morning. Back to basketball, and Harden and Embiid is being compared to whom? Tell you in 4.
Oh, brother.